Welcome back to another episode of Life Advice You Don't Hear in Church. My name's Tiffany Dawn, and hit subscribe to see more videos like this. And today we're going to talk about loneliness. The holidays are already here, which is insane. We have already put up our Christmas lights outside because we are those annoying people who set up Christmas lights before it's even Thanksgiving. And with the holidays coming up, I think loneliness can surface in a lot of our hearts. Whether you're single, I remember feeling so painfully lonely at the holidays when I was single, or whether you're in a marriage that isn't happy, isn't what you imagined it would be, or whether you are facing loss or experienced loss recently. All this grief and loneliness that we can push down a little bit easier at other times of year, it just kind of comes bubbling up at this time of year at the holidays. So I want to talk about, what do you do with that loneliness? Here are 4 things that I'm hoping can help. Number 1, accept that the feeling is normal. One of the things I've been talking about in counseling lately is all these feelings I get, and I get so frustrated because I try to talk myself out of them. I'm like, I know, like, logically I shouldn't think this, mentally I'm not even there, but the feeling is still there. And the more I try to talk myself out of it, the deeper I sink into the quicksand of that feeling, the harder it is to get unstuck. And my counselor keeps reminding me, Tiffany, your feelings are your feelings. The best way to work through them is just to acknowledge that they're there and accept that that's how you feel right now. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to fix it. There's nothing to feel guilty for. You feel what you feel. And I think as Christians, when we feel lonely, there's this idea that, well, I'm not trusting God enough. Well, I'm not content enough. And if we could just put that aside and just say, no, loneliness is what I'm feeling. It is part of being human. Number 2 is remember that the God who came to earth is the God who is acquainted with grief, the man of sorrows acquainted with grief. And I think in the joy of the Christmas season, it's so easy for me to overlook some of the really painful stories surrounding the Christmas season in the Bible, like the massacre of all the boys 2 and under because of Herod's ego trip wanting to kill Jesus, right? All these babies are killed and their mothers are weeping for them. Like, that is a story I do not want to remember on Christmas. Or what about Mary? Like, we think about, oh, she's riding the donkey to town, but what about this grueling trip for a 9 months pregnant woman on this bouncing donkey on dirt roads? Like, that sounds horrible. Having been pregnant, that's the last thing I would have wanted to do. Like, I don't like to think about the darkness surrounding the light of Christmas. But I think we need to remember that it's baked right into the Christmas story. So as we celebrate the holidays, you can just remind yourself, like, I'm not just holding hope. I'm not just holding joy and beauty and light. I'm also standing with millions of others who have been holding longing and grief and loneliness. Number 3 is make time to grieve. If you have something you need to grieve, whether that's where your relationship status is right now that you didn't expect it to be, or whether that's a recent loss, whatever it may be, make space to grieve. I remember reading Rachel Held Evans' book, A Year of Biblical Womanhood, and in it she researched these different unnamed women in the Bible, and she would light a candle for each of these women. They had like this candlelight vigil. It was like dark out and really like special, and they lit candles for these unnamed women in the Bible and their stories, many of them involving great pain. And I think that could be a really cool thing to do this Christmas season by yourself, or gather a few friends together and light candles. Hold vigil, in a sense, for grief and loss and longing in your own lives and each other's lives, and just to be there with God in that moment and to know that Emmanuel is God with us, even in the grief. And number 4, don't feel like you have to be passively stuck in it either. It's like this balancing act of honoring it, but also not feeling like we have to just be trapped in it. So find things that can help you feel joy in this season too. And I know sometimes that can be really hard to do, but even if it's only for a moment of laughter, if you can find a way to treat yourself to something, to some reprieve, that can be so helpful. So here are a few ways to do that. First way, date yourself. This could be taking yourself on a date, treating yourself to something that you really love doing, or that's feels like a little bit splurgy, to do that for yourself. Because, you know, throughout life, we will have lots of relationships, friendships, significant others, but the one human relationship that we have our whole lives is with ourselves. So take this time to get comfortable with yourself, to get to know yourself, to treat yourself. Second way, Be with people you love. We need community. We were created with this longing for human connection. So find ways to be around other people. You could have a movie night with some friends, do a white elephant gift exchange with some friends, go Christmas shopping, go make cookies, do a cookie exchange, plan something. If nobody else has planned it, if you aren't invited to anything else going on yet, then you plan it and invite some friends to it. And the third way to do this is look for somebody else who might be feeling lonely this season. Especially if you're new to an area, you don't have a lot of close friends that you can get to see this time of year. Find somebody else, whether it's in your church or a coworker or someone you met out at the gym or at Starbucks, and say, hey, do you want to go get coffee? Do you want to bake Christmas cookies together? But find ways to put yourself with those human connections that our souls need to fill our souls. And of course, if you're really struggling this season, if you're feeling really depressed and you're struggling, I highly encourage you to seek counseling. And if you're looking for a counselor, there's a link in my bio that you can check out to hook you up with a counselor. And I want to hear in the comments below, what would you add to this list? What else can you do to help yourself when you're feeling the loneliness? I love you guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye.